So there is a brand new MMORPG on the block called Elyon, and today I want to tell you what I think about it, let you know what it's all about, what I like, what I don't like, and help you make your decision if you want to give it a shot or not. First of all, it is a free-to-play MMO, and at the time of this recording, its cash shop isn't impeding at all, but that's a definite for now, as we all know what happens over time, and the game being in KO's hands, and with the information I'm going to give you regarding Elyon, I think it's safe to say that the writing is probably on the wall, the direction they will be going in the future. But there is a lot to love about this new MMO, and I hope you stick with me as I break it all down in this first impressions early review. Hit that like button to help more see this video, and subscribe if you enjoy MMO and RPG content, because that's what we be doing around here. Before we begin, I want to give a major shout out to the members of Napalm. I could not do this without you. You are the sponsors of this channel, and I thank you for your contribution, allowing me to keep making videos on MMOs, RPGs, and of course, puppets. If you are interested in becoming a member of Napalm, please click the join button down below. It is greatly appreciated. And a very special shout out to the Lords of Napalm, Bounty Code, We Tote Bitcoins, Jared Woodhouse, and Daimlos. Thank you for your highest tier membership. Let's start off with character creation. There are enough classes here to do most things you would expect from an MMO, although it is a little lackluster. It does have a tank, a healer, range DPS, melee DPS, and all the usual. When you make your character, there are enough sliders and options here to really make a cool looking character, and the races are good enough. I especially like the ogre, and after playing New World for so long, where there is nothing but humans, I appreciate even the weird little furry guy there. The character creator is much like Black Desert, and you will hear me talking about Black Desert and Terra a decent amount, although they are actually very different games, and I mean pretty monstrously different. There are still some things that feel the same. The game itself looks great. It's running on the Unreal Engine 3, which is a little outdated now, and I usually don't like this engine for MMOs. It tends to have these texture loading problems in my experience, but they pulled it off pretty well, and it is a good looking game. Maybe not as crisp as New World, but hey, not everybody is Amazon and can sling money around like they can do all the time. And the monster design, I want to say, is very top notch. It was the first thing I noticed because it does sling you into the game fighting some pretty monstrous bosses. If only they didn't die so quick, we could really enjoy the wonderful art that went into their production. The environments go from dark and rainy to sunshine and beautiful in an instant, and there's really nothing to complain about here on the graphics, or well, maybe a little bit, because the UI has that tendency to invade in on you, telling you how to move every time you get on your mount, or telling you to use your skill points when you clearly already have, but it's nowhere near the bloody mess that is Black Desert's UI in my opinion, so I'll take it and push that feeling of grossness that's growing in my gut and shove it down real deep and try to move on. Combat is super fast paced from the moment you log in, but if you hang in there, and it won't take too long, and you'll get some more satisfying longer moments. I do appreciate being able to cancel animations immediately to block or dodge, and it does feel good to play. There is a sort of addiction to this kind of fast and fluid paced quick combat style that they employ, and it is an action combat MMO much like New World, except for with more abilities at your disposal. Once again, it feels a lot like Black Desert or Terra. Elyon is just one of those MMOs where you can find a camp spot with tons of mobs and just blast through them for XP, and experience comes fast and heavy. Within a few hours, you'll be around level 30, wondering if the tutorial is going to get you to the end game. But trust me, it does slow down, and Elyon is much like Black Desert in that there is no actual cap on levels. There is what is known as a soft cap, but you can just keep pushing beyond that, although it will become a mega grind. But up to that soft cap, between the story missions and an NPC that gives out varying side quests, which really aren't that bad to be honest, it's all quick and doesn't use too much of your brain power. And that's kind of what Elyon is all about, until the end game, I would assume at least. Low brain power, satisfying, smash everything and move on. And for some people, or for some moods, this can be a lot of fun. Just want to decompress after a long day at work and don't want to waste any more brain cells? Well, log into Elyon and just crush hundreds of mobs at a time with flashy, big, fancy effects. The problem for me is that I like substance, and I like to always be thinking and strategizing. So for now, at this early part of the game, I must mention, in which I am already knocking on level 40, by the way, I find Elyon to be a mild distraction and one that isn't really holding my interest very well. There is quite a bit of content at this point. The solo dungeons and group dungeons, quests everywhere, and don't even get me started on the upgrading equipment mess in Elyon Elyon, it's one of those put runes on your equipment, upgrade it at the chance of it not working, but instead of it being destroyed, as far as I know, it can just go down in stats instead of going up. And then they have these colors that match up to different effects, and your equipment has colors and the runes need to match that, and it's one of those types, which seems to be overly complicated just to be overly complicated, and the game doesn't do a very good job of explaining it really. But as far as content, these solo dungeons are actually a lot of fun, and when you face some of these bosses, you better suddenly get alert or they will get you, depending on your class especially, because your abilities and your equipment and all that kind of thing are probably going to come into effect here, as well as dodging and blocking in my case. They aren't exactly what I would call easy. You will need to turn your brain back on for a moment and actually play. This leads me to believe that going onward, that there may be some challenge in this game, and I bet you there is at certain parts. What about the story, you ask? Well, there definitely is one, and so far, it's not that it's bad, it's just that it's a bit generic feeling, and although there is plenty of voice acting, you might want to adjust some sound as it is kind of hard to hear them, or actually, on second thought, perhaps it's better off leaving low volume, because it's kind of average, and what you would kind of expect from a Korean MMO voice acting. Not horrible, but leaves a lot to be desired. It is clear that this game isn't really going for an over-the-top crazy story or lore that will truly immerse you. This MMO seems to be focused on that fast, fluid combat above all else. Now, although everything up to this point is fast, I do want to make myself clear. This is a grind game at its core. To get the runes, to upgrade your equipment, to push into crazy levels to outdo others, which, by the way, there is PvP based on 2 factions in the MMORPG as well, so there will be hell to pay and grind later. I can already feel it. And that's the thing, isn't it? Some people enjoy that, and if the combat is fun, which it is, then some will really just enjoy being able to limitlessly grind their hearts out, slaying millions of mobs, and just like I said earlier, just kind of decompressing after work kind of feeling. And like I said earlier too, the mobs look really good, and I've already seen a ton of variety. Elyon is an MMO that was clearly made for people, in my opinion, that enjoy or enjoyed Black Desert Online or Terra, with a more action combat MMO system than Black Desert, and more like Terra but a bit smoother. And for that crowd, I really think they will absolutely love Elyon for its combat. For fans of Tab Target or people enjoying New World, I'm not sure Elyon can grip them with its more Korean MMO philosophies. Now, I'm going to get a little bit petty now, because the first mount I got was a stupid skateboard thing, and I know this world is a sci-fi kind of mix with high fantasy, but I just hate mounts like this, and I feel they really could do more with the story to make me care about the 2 factions that I picked from at the beginning. And the overall generic presentation around the world itself makes me really just not care about the game or the world at all. There, of course, is much more to see and do in this game, obviously, and although I stand by that fans of Terra or BDO will enjoy this MMORPG, I didn't necessarily enjoy those MMOs myself, so of course this game just isn't for me. I do think there is an audience for Elyon, and I do think they could be very successful. Just go into it knowing what it is, a Korean MMO with all the bells and whistles wrapped up in the package to go along with it, and for some people that's really good news, because it's not a bad Korean MMO. So let me know, have you played Elyon? What did you think? Going to give it a whirl? Not gonna try it? Let me know in the comments down below, and hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and consider subscribing for more MMO and RPG content. And until next time, my friends, God bless and happy gaming.